In the bustling port city of Busan, where modern skyscrapers tower over ancient fishing villages, there are stretches of famous golden sand of Haeundae. By day, it sparkles with sunlight and laughter. But when the night falls and the mist rolls in from the Donghae East Sea, the locals know to stay away from the water's edge. For that is when bada gwishin, the sea ghost of Haeundae, walks among the waves. This spirit was not always a creature of the depths. Once, he was Kim Hae-su, a master fisherman whose weather hands knew every current, whose eyes could read the sea like an ancient scroll. For 40 years he had sailed these waters, guiding his small crew of Abu fishermen through storms that would terrify younger men, bringing them home safely when others were lost to the hungry waves. Hae-su lived in a small Ochon fishing village that once stood where luxury hotels now rise. His hanok house sat closest to the shore, its windows facing the endless horizon, and every morning before dawn, he would offer prayers to Yongwang, the Dragon King, asking for safe passage and abundant catch. The villagers respected him not just for his skill, but for his generosity. When young fishermen lost their nets to sudden storms, Hae-su would share his own catch to feed their families. When boats were damaged by typhoons, his strong hands helped repair them without asking for payment. He was the guardian of the sea, the one who taught others to respect water's power. But the sea, like all ancient powers, demands balance. Take from her generously, and she expects tribute. Ignore her warnings, and she will claim what she believes is owed. And on one terrible night in the autumn, when the winds howled like the voice of angry ancestors, the sea came to collect her debt. It began as fishing trips often did, with Hae-su checking his weather instruments and reading the subtle signs in the clouds. A young crew had begged him to take them out, despite the storm warnings from the Coast Guard. The Myeongtae, Polak were running thick. They said, and one good night's catch could feed their families for a month. The sea is angry tonight, boys, Hae-su warned them, pointing to the dark horizon. See how the waves move against each other? How the seabirds fly inland instead of fishing? Yongwang-nim is testing us. We should wait for calmer waters. But the young men were desperate. Their families were hungry. Their debts were mounting, and the fish were calling to them like silver promises. They pleaded and bargained until finally, against his better judgment, Hae-su agreed to take them out for just 1 hour, just to the shallow waters near the beach. They launched their boat, Bada Sea Star, into waters that grew rougher with each passing minute. The wind picked up like the breath of giants, and waves began to tower over their small vessel, like moving mountains of dark green water. Hae-su fought the wheel as spray lashed his face, shouting orders to his crew over the roar of the storm. Turn back now, he called to them. The sea is claiming her territory. We must respect her power. But it was too late. A wave larger than any they had ever seen, a godaehan pado, giant wave that seems to touch the storm clouds themselves, rose up before like the hand of an angry god. It hung there for a moment that felt like eternity, blocking out the moon and the stars. And then it crashed down upon the Badapyeor with the weight of the ocean itself. The boat splintered like kindling, throwing all 3 men into the churning black water. Hae-su fought against the waves, calling out the names of his crew, searching desperately in the darkness for any signs of the young men who had trusted him with their lives. Jinoya! He screamed into the wind. Sangchara! Hold on, I'm coming for you! But the sea had already claimed them, pulling them down into her cold embrace. and Hae-su realized with growing horror that he was alone in the vast, angry waters, with nothing but his guilt to keep him afloat. For hours he fought the waves, his strength fading with each passing minute, his body growing numb with cold. The storm raged around him like the fury of heaven, and gradually he began to understand that this was his punishment, his price for ignoring the sea's warning, for leading those young men to their deaths. As hypothermia clouded his vision, as his waterlogged clothes dragged him down, Hae-su made a promise to the Donghae, a bargain with the depths that would bind his soul forever. "Yongwang-nim," he whispered to the Dragon King beneath the waves, "take my life in place of theirs. Let me serve you in death as I serve the fishermen in life. Make me a guardian of these waters, a guide for the lost and drowning. But let these young men's soul find peace." The sea heard his plea, and as Hae-su sank beneath the surface for the final time, the Dragon King accepted his bargain. His body was never found, but his spirit remained in the waters of Haeundae, transformed him into something between man and sea, bound to the depths by duty and eternal regret. The first sightings came just 3 nights later, when another fishing boat was caught in a sudden squall in the same treacherous waters. The captain, Pak Dong-su, was fighting to keep his vessel steady when he saw a figure walking on the waves themselves, a man in old-fashioned abubok fishing clothes, whose skin glowed with the pale light of phosphorescence. The figure raised his hand and pointed toward shore, his mouth opening to call across the water, in a voice that seemed to come from the depths themselves. "이쪽으로, 이쪽으로, this way, this way. 바위를 조심해. Beware of the rocks. 따라와. 안전한 곳으로 인도해 줄게. Follow me. I'll guide you to safety." Dong-su followed the ghostly figure's directions, steering away from hidden rocks and dangerous currents that would have smashed his boat to pieces. The glowing man led them through the storm until they reached the safety of the harbor, and then he vanished into the mist, like sea foam dissolving in the morning sun. Word of the sea ghost spread quickly through the fishing communities of Busan. Some called him Haeundae Beach, the guardian spirit of Haeundae. Others whisper that he was 저주받은 영혼, a cursed soul who could never find rest. But those who encountered the sea ghost soon learned that his gratitude came with a price. For Hae-su had not forgotten the ancient law of the sea, the balance that must be maintained between the world of living and the realm of depths. Those who accepted his help would hear his voice, calling to them on nights when the fog rolled thick. 공물을 바쳐라, bring tribute. 바다에 감사를 표해라. Show gratitude to the sea. 잊지 마라, 모든 것에는 대가가 따른다. Don't forget, everything has its price. At first, the tribute was simple. A portion of their catch thrown back to the waves, rice wine poured into the water with proper ceremony, prayers offered to Yongwang at the village shrine. Those who honored these requests found their nets full, their boats protected from storms, their families safe from the sea's hunger. But those who ignored the ghost's demands, who thought themselves above the old superstitions, who took the sea's bounty without giving back, soon discovered that Hae-su's protection could turn to vengeance as quickly as a tide could change. Captain Imansu learned this lesson the hard way, a modern man who scorned the old beliefs. He had been saved from a typhoon by the sea ghost's guidance, but refused to offer any tribute in return. "Superstitious nonsense," he told his crew when they begged him to honor the tradition. "That was just phosphorescence in the water, trick of the light and shadow. I navigate by GPS and weather radar, not ghost stories." But the sea ghost does not forget debts unpaid. Mansu's next voyage began in a perfect weather, calm seas and clear skies stretching to the horizon. But as his boat moved farther from shore, the temperature began to drop, and a thick fog rolled in from nowhere, surrounding his vessel like the breath of the dead. His instruments failed one by one, his compass spinning wildly, his radio crackling with a voice speaking Hangukga in dialects older than memory. And through the fog came the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, walking on the water around his boat. Minsuya, the voice called from the mist. 너는 빛을 갚지 않았다. You have not paid your debt. 바다가 너를 구해줬는데, the sea saved you. 이제 대가를 치러라. Now pay the price. Mansu's boat began to spin in circles, caught in a current that should not have existed, while ghostly hands seemed to grip the hull and dragged it toward deeper waters. He tried to start the engine, but it sputtered and died. He tried to radio for help, but heard only the sound of drowning voices singing ancient sea shanties. The fog grew thicker, the water colder, and slowly, inevitably, his boat began to sink. Not from any visible damage, not from any storm or collision, but as if the sea herself was opening up to claim what she believed was rightfully hers. Mansu was found 3 days later, floating near Haeundae Beach, his body showing no signs of violence or drowning, but his face frozen in an expression of absolute terror. The Coast Guard could never explain how his modern, well-maintained boat had simply vanished, leaving no wreckage, no oil slick, no trace, except for one man floating alone in calm seas. But the sea ghost's story did not end with vengeance. For every soul he claimed for disrespecting the depths, Jesus saved dozens of others who showed proper gratitude and respect. Fishermen learned to listen for his voice on foggy nights, to follow his guidance through dangerous waters, and to honor the ancient compact between those who take from the sea and the sea that gives reluctantly. Even today, as Haeundae has transformed from a simple fishing village into a world-famous resort, the sea ghost continues his eternal patrol. Hotel guests sometimes report seeing a glowing figure walking on the waves in the early morning hours. Surfers speak of voices calling them away from dangerous currents and hidden rocks. And fishermen still leave offerings at the old shrine, knowing that some traditions are too powerful to ignore. But the ghost's hunger has grown with the changing times, no longer content with simple offerings of fish and rice wine. Hae-su now demands tribute from all who profit from the sea. The cruise ship operators who bring thousands of tourists, the developers who build resorts on reclaimed land, the corporations that dump waste into sacred waters. 바다는 모든 것을 기억한다. The sea remembers everything. 존중하는 자에게는 보호를. To those who show respect, protection. 탐욕스러운 자에게는 심판을. To the greedy, judgment. 나는 영원히 지키고 있다. I watch forever. So ends the tale of Haeundae's sea ghost, a story of sacrifice that echoes through generations, duty that transcends death, the eternal balance between taking and giving that governs all who make their living from the sea. Some say that on nights when the fog is thick and the waves crash against the shores with unusual force, you can still see him walking among the breakers, his phosphorescent form glowing like a lighthouse built from supernatural fire. If you ever find yourself in Busan, standing on the golden sand of Haeundae at midnight, listen carefully to what the waves are telling you. If you hear a voice calling from the depths, offering guidance through treacherous waters, remember that every gift from the sea comes with an obligation to give something back. For in a world where we take so much from nature without thought of consequence or gratitude, Haesu served as an eternal reminder that the ancient powers still watch, still judge, and still demand the respect that modern humanity has forgotten how to give. The sea ghost of Haeundae walks still, guardian and judge, protector and punisher, ensuring that those who profit from the ocean's bounty never forget the debt they owe to the depths that gave them everything.